Imagine an island where the grass is green but the soil is poison. Where the wind carries memories of death. Where even today, after billions spent on cleanup, the warning signs remain. This island exists. It is called Gruinard. And for 50 years, it was one of the most forbidden places on Earth. Gruinard is a small island off the northwest coast of Scotland. 2 kilometers long. 1 kilometer wide. Nothing grows there. To look at it, you would not know it is dangerous. The hills are green. The water around it is clear. Seals rest on the rocks. Birds fly overhead. But the soil beneath the grass is a graveyard. Gruinard did not become dangerous by accident. It was made dangerous. On purpose. In 1942, the world was at war. Britain was terrified that Nazi Germany would develop biological weapons. So British scientists decided to build their own. They chose Gruinard as their testing ground. The island was remote. Uninhabited. Perfect for secrets. The scientists brought sheep to the island. They tethered them to posts on the beach. Then they exploded bombs filled with anthrax spores above the animals. The sheep died within days. Their bodies were burned. Their ashes were buried. But the anthrax spores remained. They settled into the soil. They floated in the air. They stuck to the grass, the rocks, the fur of the dead animals. Anthrax is one of the most dangerous bacteria known to humanity. It can survive in soil for decades. It can be carried by the wind for miles. Inhale just a few spores, and you will be dead within a week. Gruinard was now a weapon. Not a bomb. Not a missile. An entire island designed to kill. After the war ended in 1945, the British government faced a problem. They could not admit what they had done. They could not clean up the island. They simply abandoned it. They posted signs, danger. Keep out. Unauthorized entry forbidden. The signs rusted. The paint peeled. But the anthrax did not die. For 40 years, Gruinard sat empty. Fishermen avoided it. Sailors sailed around it. Tourists never came. The island became a ghost. But the story of Gruinard does not end there. Across the water, on the Scottish mainland, another secret was buried. In the 1960s, the government built a nuclear fuel processing plant. It was called Chapelcross. Just a few miles from Gruinard. Workers came from all over Scotland. They brought their families. The government built housing, schools, shops, a cinema. It was a normal town. Except for one thing. The workers did not know what they were handling. They thought they were building ships. They thought they were making paper. The truth was much darker. Chapelcross was processing plutonium, the most toxic substance ever created by humans. Plutonium dust is invisible. It has no smell. It can travel for miles on the wind. Once it enters the body, it never leaves. It sits in the lungs, in the bones, in the liver, and it radiates. For 30 years, the workers at Chapelcross handled plutonium without protection. They wore ordinary clothes. They ate lunch in the canteen with radioactive dust on their hands. They went home to their families with plutonium in their hair. The government knew. They had internal reports. They had safety guidelines that were ignored. They had whistleblowers who were fired and silenced. In the 1990s, the workers began to die. Cancer, leukemia, tumors, Strange diseases no one could explain. A former worker named John was diagnosed with bone cancer. His doctor said it was probably caused by radiation. John had never been told he worked with radiation. He had never been given a protective suit. He had never been warned. John died in 1998. He was 53 years old. He left behind a wife and 3 children. His wife tried to sue the government. She was told the case would take years. She ran out of money. She gave up. John's story is not unique. Dozens of former Chapelcross workers died of cancer in the 1990s and 2000s. Hundreds more became sick. Their children were born with birth defects. Their grandchildren are still being tested for radiation exposure. The government paid compensation to some families, but only after years of legal battles. And only after the families signed papers promising never to talk to the press. Chapelcross was finally closed in 2004. The buildings were demolished. The soil was scraped away. The town was renamed. New houses were built. New families moved in. But the radiation remains. Deep in the ground. In the water pipes. In the bones of the workers who are still alive. And across the water, Gruinard still sits. In 1986, the government finally admitted what happened on Gruinard. They sent a cleanup crew to the island. Workers in hazmat suits sprayed the entire island with tons of formaldehyde and seawater. They dug up the top 30 centimeters of soil. They buried the contaminated dirt in a deep pit on the island. They covered the pit with concrete. In 1990, the government declared Gruinard safe. They removed the warning signs. They announced that the island was open to the public. But no one came. No one believed them. Why would they? The government had lied for 50 years. They had exposed their own workers to poison. They had covered up deaths. Why would they tell the truth about a tiny island? Private tests have been conducted on Gruinard. Scientists have taken soil samples. They have tested the water. They have found anthrax spores. Not as many as before. But enough. Enough to kill a sheep. Enough to kill a human. The government denies this. They say the tests are flawed. They say the island is safe. But they have not moved back. They have not built houses. They have not invited tourists. Gruinard remains empty. The seals rest on the rocks. The birds fly overhead. But the grass is still green. And the soil is still poison. Today, Gruinard is a symbol. A reminder of what governments do in the name of security. Of how easily they sacrifice their own people. Of how quickly they bury the truth. The workers at Chapelcross are dying. Their families are struggling. The government is paying compensation. But the full story has never been told. The full list of victims has never been released. The full extent of the contamination has never been measured. Gruinard is not the only forbidden island. There are others. Bikini Atoll, where the United States tested nuclear bombs. The islanders were told it was safe to return. They returned. They got sick. They left again. Bikini is still uninhabitable. Isla de Sacrificios, off the coast of Mexico. A small island used as a dumping ground for medical waste. Needles. Bandages. Body parts. The island is still off limits. The fishermen still avoid it. Groups of small islands around the world are still poisoned. By war. By industry. By greed. Gruinard is just one of many. But Gruinard is unique. Because Gruinard was not poisoned by accident. It was poisoned on purpose. By scientists working for the government. By people who knew exactly what they were doing. Who calculated exactly how many sheep would die. Who calculated exactly how many spores it would take to kill a human. They just never expected the humans to be their own. Gruinard is a quiet island. The wind blows across the hills. The water laps against the shore. The seals bark. It is peaceful. It is beautiful. It is a lie. Subscribe to Echoes of the Lost. Turn on the notification bell. And do not forget to listen to What History Left Behind. This was Gruinard. The island that killed in silence.